bet.
Okay, but we gotta help 8 first, right?
I'm not crying.
And then we can all go to Earth together.
Yeah.
I'm not crying. I am not crying.
You got it.
Man, y'all.
Yo, what up? I'm Russ. Welcome back to the channel. And today, I'm fresh off the heels of finishing Pragmata. If you aren't in the know, Pragmata is a new IP from Capcom and is also one of those games that fell victim into quite a few development troubles. Originally announced back in 2020, it garnered quite a lot of intrigue with its reveal trailer. You have what looks like an astronaut walking through some version of New York City, a little girl android with the power to generate weaponry or defensive constructs, and then somehow they end up on the moon. And it was capped off with a planned release date for 2022. Unfortunately, the next year, it will be pushed back to a 2023 release. Needless to say, that didn't happen either. And instead of promising another release date, it was just delayed indefinitely. And whosever idea it was to have this little girl convey this information each time through these drawings, you just might be a genius, sir. Or ma'am, whoever you are. I mean, look at those eyes. Look how cute this is. I can't get mad at that. Yeah, go take all the time you need. It's fine. It's okay. You know, for her, it's all good. It's all good. Eventually, Pragmata or Pragmata, pick one. Decide however you want to say it. But eventually, Pragmata would reemerge, announcing that it would finally release in 2026. And here we are today, and it is sitting right here in our hands. And I gotta say, I think I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. And that's even with my anticipation for it. So, with that being said, let's take a closer look at Pragmata. Pragmata's story takes place in some sort of alternate or distant future of the world that we know. Space travel is a bit more common. The moon is basically colonized. And we're at the point where we can 3D print damn near anything the mind can think of. We are introduced to Hugh Williams, a systems engineer for the Delphi Corporation. And he is sent with a team to the station on the moon, called the Cradle, to investigate why communications between there and Earth have been cut off. And when they get there, well, it's pretty clear as to why. All human life on the station has basically been eradicated, and only the machines remain. And pretty soon, trouble strikes this team as well.
So everybody just got smoked just like that. That's crazy, yo. And his teeth are crooked. I appreciate that.
We are then introduced to the second half of the main dynamic duo.
I am DI03367, a state-of-the-art pragmata created here at the Cradle.
What she said. Now that serial number of hers is kind of important, but for all of our sakes, she takes on the name Diana.
Diana?
Diana!
Now it turns out that the AI that runs all the systems in the Cradle has gone hostile. Sounding very familiar.
Can a robot turn a canvas into a beautiful masterpiece?
Can you?
Got his ass!
And it's taking out anything it deems to be a threat. AKA any human life form. So it is up to Hugh and Diana to fight through the overrun Cradle in order to reboot the system at its core and make it back to Earth in the process. Now there is a bit more to the plot here, diving into what this place was actually made for, what Diana actually is, and the true reason behind all the messed up stuff that's going on. A lot of it which is told through these holograms that you can find, or through some of the data logs that are littered all over the place. I'm not gonna get into what's said in them, but they just add a bit more background to the overall narrative if you care to look. Now, part of me wishes some of this stuff was just included in the main form of storytelling, as it further fleshes out some character motivations. But even without the added context, enough of it is there to not make it feel like you're missing out on something. And it's still a driving story that makes you want to see what happens next. And I credit most, if not all of that drive, to the emotional core of this story, which is the relationship between Hugh and Diana.
I'm counting on you, kiddo.
Roger that.
This is literally Girl Dad the game. Just in space with an AI trying to kill you at every turn. And speaking of which, if you are a dad, I can only imagine how this game would hit you. I'm not a parent. I have no intention of being one anytime soon. And this still me up. The chemistry between these two and the interactions you're able to have just sell you more and more on this partnership turned caring relationship, along with the fact that they like to focus on her face a lot. So you can't help but fall in love with her. I mean, come on. Are you gonna say no to that? The two of them are just written well enough to make it feel like you're growing in the relationship along with them, as they are both put on paths of self-discovery. Hugh's hardened reluctance is broken down and transformed into a selfless protector, and Diana's initial innocence and naivety is constantly tested as she begins to learn the value of life itself. Hell, Diana, I think, has one of the best character introductions of a child character in recent memory. I also got to mention this too, because this kind of blew me when I found out. This is Diana's voice actor. Yeah, kind of crazy. When this girl talks, there is no inkling to me that a black woman is supplying that voice. Even after learning that fact, whenever I hear her speak, my mind thinks it's still a little white girl. Like it can't accept that a black woman is supplying that voice, because what the And I say all that to say, you deserve an award for that, Miss Saif, if I said that right. I have not seen you since 13 Reasons Why, but this may be your new calling. And she's not great just because of the type of voice, but the range she's able to put in it as well. She manages to play the dumb, innocent child, but at the same time, turn the dial to a more serious, adult-like tone while not breaking the illusion. It's just incredible. Like I said, I still have a hard time believing it. And not just to give her all the praise, I think Hugh's VA does an awesome job as well. He really does embody just a guy trying to figure things out as he goes along. Kind of like how every parent will tell you how it is to raise a child, honestly, or at least their first one. And you notice his tone shift as the character progresses. You start hearing more and more joy in his voice, or more and more worry in his voice whenever it comes to Diana and what's happening to her. If these two weren't on point, this game would not work as well as it does pulling the emotions out of you.
I'm coming with you.
You can't. Not like that. You need to rest.
You? I'm going.
Okay. Let's move.
And these characters, this game, is just another testament to how amazing the craft of voice acting is. What you look like and what you normally sound like doesn't matter. Anybody can play anyone and anything as long as you're good enough.
Nice fight, kiddo.
Thank you.
I must say, not sure if you got a fix or an upgrade.
Did I do good?
Yeah, you did great.
God damn it, I am not crying.
Pragmata, at its core foundation, is a third-person action shooter. A lot of your time is going to be spent running around, taking every pot shot you can get, while also trying to avoid getting smacked in the helmet. But that's not all. This game is also a puzzle game of sorts, because all the enemies can be hacked. And it's a very pivotal mechanic. All the enemies here are robots, and they are tanks. Not only that, but there are several different types, powered up versions of those enemies, and some of which have their own special abilities.
Oh, come on. They camouflage now? What the f? Why? Turn into Resident Evil, I swear to God.
So going in expecting to shoot everything to death just isn't gonna work too well for you. No, instead, with Diana on your back, you need to open them up first by completing this hacking minigame that pops up pretty much every time you aim at an opponent. Navigating the matrix to activate the green execution node will expose weak points, allowing for more damage to be done. On the surface, it's pretty simple, and starting out it is, but as the game goes on, more elements are introduced to make the hacking more and more interesting. The matrices will come in different sizes, several obstacles will try to interfere with your hacking ability, and in addition to just getting to the green light, there are other nodes that can be activated on the way, ranging from simple damage boosters, confusing your enemy, hacking an entire group, and plenty more that you'll either find from exploring or crafting in the shelter. We'll get to that. What's more is that these effects can be stacked on top of each other, even multiple times. However, you only have a limited number of uses, as well as the more times you use them, the weaker their effects become. So it really becomes a strategy call of, do you want to use certain nodes now on this enemy, or just do a simple hack and save your supplies for the bigger threat in this fight or later on. All this while still having to keep an eye on enemy positioning and activity, because the game does not stop while you're hacking. As a matter of fact, if you get hit, you will have to start the hacking matrix all over again. So you're actively dodging with your thrusters, making split-second decisions, and pulling off hacks at the very last moment before being struck, and it's incredibly satisfying. Now you do have a few more tools at your disposal. Accompanying your main weapon are different weapon units that you can acquire throughout the course of the game. Offensive units, pretty self-explanatory, deal pretty big damage one way or another. Defensive units, again, pretty self-explanatory. They provide you with some sort of protection or assistance on the battlefield. And tactical units, which if I had to sum it up, they try to make your fight easier, whether it be by manipulating the battlefield or the hacking matrix itself. There's also a powered up mode, dubbed the Overdrive Protocol, which essentially busts everything wide open and lets you unload on a some bitch for a limited time.
Here we come, boy. Real, shoot to kill, better run, boy. Or you can tell me how I feel.
Now to be honest, it can be a lot to keep up with. Oftentimes I found myself forgetting to use all the tools available to me, something that can really affect your performance in the boss fights, as they kind of require you to use, well, everything. Not only that, but to also pay attention to what you're hacking and not just do it recklessly. And yes, you still gotta be quick on your feet too. But once you get it, everything clicks and it's so much fun.
I knew it. I fucking knew it. I knew some stupid shit like that was gonna happen.
This combination of tasks and any given encounter keeps you engaged so much that the gameplay loop never got boring in my opinion, at least in the combat. As far as the levels themselves, that's a bit of a different story. So the entire game takes place on this moon base, and you're essentially going from one sector to the next along this tramway system. Each sector has a general theme behind it, some of which may factor into the gameplay sometimes, whether that be in the combat, the platforming, or the puzzle solving. And when I say platforming and puzzle solving, it's pretty light in the terms of like actual challenge. It's never something where you gotta think too hard. It's more about, well, did you just look around hard enough to find the object that you needed or the hacking console that you needed to, well, hack? The one thing that did begin to irk me though is that the zones tend to repeat a similar progression pattern. As you go through them, it feels like you're constantly running up against barricades with several locking modules on them, or you're having to clear the way of something in order to progress the game. It's to the point where it happens enough that the game itself acknowledges that shit.
Another damn locked door.
So y'all fucking admit it.
While it does give you some sort of visual measurement of level progression, which can be nice, it also can be deflating to come across your third or fourth locked door or blockade that you have to then go find all the other contact points for. It sort of comes off as padding because the game isn't that long in the first place. Now while exploring, you'll undoubtedly notice a lot of secrets and goodies to be collected. One of the main things you'll spot are these red locked doors called red zones. These red zones require a specific gate key that can usually be found within the sector if you make a slight effort to look, or you can acquire them by other methods. But these are essentially challenge zones within the sector. Some are only a single room, others may have you navigate a vaster area. All of them will try to f you up.
Ow, ow. Okay.
What?
Oh my f***ing god, dude.
Okay, they're not that difficult, but they do require a little more strategy and maybe even some planning ahead to get through them. And completing them usually nets you some pretty good stuff. You'll also notice that some items and paths are inaccessible to you, more specifically in the earlier areas. That's because Pragmata also sort of functions like a Metroidvania. As you progress the game and acquire new abilities, you're encouraged to go back to past levels and open up different pathways that weren't available to you before. That's further supported by the completion percentage of each zone of each sector being shown to you every time you're choosing a destination, as well as the escape hatches implemented all through the game. These function as small checkpoints, honestly like bonfires, and show up pretty much after any significant progress was made, like after opening an aforementioned lock. They essentially allow you to retreat to home base for a little reprieve, and then return back in the level to continue progress or revisit other parts of different levels. Now, circling back to your home base, again called the shelter, this is where a lot of the micromanagement of the game happens. It's home to what they call the firmware updater, where you can upgrade your suit defenses, your weapon, or Diana herself. There's the unit printer, which is kind of this game's take on a crafting system. You can craft suit attachments, weapons, and hacking upgrades, which then allow you access to pick and choose some of those things as a part of a loadout. Yes, you have a loadout. And it also includes the selection of mode chips that augment the hacking mechanic in different ways, and suit mods that give you different bonuses when equipped, and certain prerequisites are met. And that's just the as you're trying to head out the door. Each time you beat a mainline boss, the shelter levels up, and Mr. Flat Screen for a Face over here will announce new features and upgrades available to you, as well as he's host to a few things, including a jukebox where you can change the music in the cradle, the Stamp Club, which is a take on bingo, unlocking rewards like cosmetics as you clear the boards, and lastly, a slew of training simulations are also made available to you to test your proficiency with specific equipment and parameters, and they yield rewards based on how well you accomplish the established goals. If you plan on maxing out your stats, these are crucial in getting enough materials in order to do that. I did a couple of these to varying degrees of success, but I didn't find them that enticing that I wanted to do more than what I did, nor did I want to stop the story progression to do so either. Again, if you're trying to max out everything, they're a necessity. Otherwise, they're an optional choice. Now, the best aspect about this place is again Diana. You're able to engage in conversation with her and later on play with her a little bit, increasing the relationship between you two. Do it enough, and she may even present you with a drawing as a token of her appreciation, just like one from the trailers. There's even an Easter egg from the trailers that you can find. Matter of fact, there are several Easter eggs.
What the hell? Capcom? Don't fucking play with me.
During your escapades, you may come across these things called REMs, basically reconstructions of popular Earth activities or places, like a slide or a basketball hoop, or even a whole ass TV set. These can be given to Diana to interact with, further boosting your relationship with her, and all of these things come in sets. Completing the set will give you a more cohesive scene in the hideout, and just make things look a bit nicer in there. Now, I gotta admit, it's pretty cute seeing her run around and playing. These moments here are probably some of the best in my opinion. The quieter moments where you just watch the innocence unfold and observe the growth of the curiosity. And seeing the shelter begin to reflect the relationship you have with her, it just does something, man. The unfortunate part of this is that outside of the things that I mentioned, you can't interact with Diana any other way. It really sucks because she'll make comments like,
Ew, what is it next to me?
and you just can't. She'll play with the basketball, but you can't bounce it or throw it to her or anything. You can't do anything with her in that moment. All you're able to do is just watch or interrupt her and start a game of hide and seek. Come on, man.
You still up for this?
You'll be there too?
You bet.
If you've been watching the video this whole time, you've undoubtedly noticed just how fucking gorgeous this game is. The RE engine has really proven itself to be a powerhouse in pushing fidelity, especially when it comes to faces, hair, and lighting. The art direction,
What the f? What kind of Gundam head ass?
it does make you feel like you're on a believable space station, and also conveys a story of major malfunction all throughout, with the mixture of futuristic and current earthly architecture trying to occupy the same space, creating these interesting concoctions of environments. My only real critique here is that some of the lip syncing for the in-game dialogue can be off.
No, Edis only manages the bots. But those bots are pretty much everywhere, so...
Like, I hear what you're saying, but your mouth ain't convincing me. I also got locked into place for a scene or conversation that was supposed to happen, but it just never triggered. So I just sat there confused and looking stupid. But besides all that though, it was good. My playthrough experience was all on PC. And with that, I gotta give some kudos to the graphic settings of the game. Not just the amount, but the intuitiveness of understanding what each option is doing and its impact on your hardware thanks to this preview on the side. More games need to have this. More games need to be optimized like this too. This game ran so smooth. Dog. I had ray tracing on the whole fucking time. That's a luxury I rarely get to experience, nor is a trade-off normally worth it. But here, I genuinely think it adds to the aesthetic of the game, and they managed to do it without tanking the performance. So, if you can, turn that on. There are some accessibility presets to choose from, and to be honest, they could have done better here. I'm not a person that needs accessibility features like that, so I am far from the right person to really say what's adequate or not. But looking at how in-depth other games have went into their feature sets, this really pales in comparison. All that's happening here is graphical settings are just getting toggled on or off for like the most basic of human inconveniences. Lastly, I do want to talk about the audio design a little bit. Overall, it's fine. I think my favorite aspect of the audio though is no doubt the score.
Don't roll it right, careful!
Back off!
I really like the use of synths throughout the whole thing, and even how the score tries to encompass what's happening on screen in the music itself. For example, without spoiling anything, there's a point where Diana begins having issues and the score acts like it's glitching out to match what she's feeling in that moment, and even to auditorily realize your inability to utilize her properly. When I heard and realized what was going on, I just thought that was cool. I can't say there's a lot of stuff like that, but overall, very, very solid.
Move, you!
Right on!
Go pick up Pragmata. Point blank period. This is a game that I feel like will speak to a lot of different people because it hits that innate parental instinct that's in a lot of us, aware of it or not, whether it be a parent to their child, an older sibling to their younger sibling, or even a teacher to their students. That emotional response is the target of this game, and it hits time and time again extremely well. You will care for these two and the relationship they form with each other, almost to a parasocial degree. And once it has you, it won't let go. Gameplay wise, you can look at it as another third-person shooter on the surface, but I think that does it a disservice. There's a lot more going on here than just you shooting, with the hacking, the mobility, and the battlefield control at play. On-the-fly strategy plays just as much a part as your reflexes do. And when I think of things to compare it to, Vanquish is what comes to mind, if any of you remember that game. Now, Pragmata is way slower than that game, but I feel like it's just as chaotic, just in a different way. Now, if you're one to judge the value of a game off of how much content it has, I believe Pragmata has you covered there too. Aside from the main story, I mentioned all the simulation missions and the collectibles I find earlier, but there's also New Game Plus, where you get to carry over your enhancements to a new story playthrough, and then a new lunatic difficulty mode unlocks to go along with that. Y'all can have that one. Lastly, a new mode called Unknown Signal Mode unlocks, and I will spoil this a little bit. It's just more simulation missions to complete. However, you have to unlock them by completing specific tasks back in each of the regular levels of the Cradle. And if you want the secret ending of the game, you're gonna have to do them. So you get all of that in a $60 package. Not even full price in today's time. If you don't go, if you couldn't tell, I really like this game. Despite some of the grievances with the level design in terms of progression, there's a bit too much stopping of the player moving forward, or it just lasts too long sometimes. And I could see people dropping off because of that, but the fun and addictive combat, along with the desire to see the emotional story between our protagonists play out, really made it worth it to me. I'm really glad they did not give up on trying to make this game, and honestly can't wait to see what they do next with the IP, if they decide to do anything. But those are my thoughts on Pragmata. Let me know in the comments if you plan on picking it up, or if you've already played it, what were your thoughts on the game? And do you think they're gonna follow it up? And if so, what's the best way to go about it? And as you can tell, I like having the discussion. So, as always, thanks for making it to the end of this video. If you liked it, want to see more content like it, and want to help the channel grow, feel free to subscribe, like, and share the video. It is very much appreciated. And yeah, that's gonna do it for me. I'm Russ, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Later.